Yes, good people, welcome back to the Guitar Manifesto channel. Hope you're all doing well. So today we're going to be building a kind of budget version of Kurt Cobain's Fender competition Mustang that, you know, was famous for being in a Smells Like Teen Spirit video. I've got a collection of parts in front of me. I think we got enough to put together a sweet grungy Kurt Cobain style guitar. So let's get you in a little closer and I'll show you what we got. So we'll start off with the body. I've got this Bullet Mustang body that I bought off eBay. It come with the bridge, it come with a metal control panel, but I've also got another one of them. I paid around 40 quid for this. Somebody tried to have a go at making a Cobain guitar. They put a competition stripe on. They did paint it a darker shade, probably more closer to the reissue Kurt Cobain Mustang as opposed to the original competition burgundy, but we're going to roll with that. So the vibrato tailpiece arrived like that, so it's not been cut in properly, anything like that. I think it's been lined up. We'll check that when I put the neck on. It's been hard-tailed, so there's no vibrato springs or anything like that on it. That don't really bother me because I generally don't use a vibrato on these anyway, so we'll hopefully make that fit. I've got a Tuneomatic bridge. Now to make the bridge fit the body, we've got to drill some holes. I've only got these gold sort of connectors that will go into the bridge, but once they're in place, yeah, should be fine. We'll get away with that. So in terms of pick guards, Cobain's guitar had a pearloy guard. I've got a mint green one knocking around, and to buy a new one of these in pearloid vintage white, you're looking around 30 quid, so this ain't cost me nothing, so we're going to roll with that. It's not going to be an exact replica anyway, it's just, you know, inspired by Cobain's with some cool grunginess. Now for the neck, subscriber to the channel, Dan, we done a little deal and we exchanged some bits and he gave me this Fender Bullet Mustang neck. It come pretty standard, the headstock wasn't painted. I had some blue paint in my stash that was pretty close to what this was, so I went with that. So first of all I sanded the neck down with some 240 grit to get a nice key on it, got rid of the decal. Then I went over with this filler primer. I gave that a good couple of coats, let it dry, 10 minutes between each coat. After half hour I went over with the blue paint, which is a Ford State Blue pearlescent spray paint. Then I went over with some clear coat, went over this automotive spray paint. I gave that about 3 or 4 coats, let it dry 10 minutes between each coat. Once it was done, I let it dry for a good 24 hours and it looked a bit too shiny. The colour is a little darker than the body, but you know, I'm going to roll with what I got. Sometimes you just got to make do. It's the grunge way. But yeah, it was a little too shiny, a little too new looking compared to the body, so I flattened it down with some 1000 grit, 1500 grit sandpaper. I used some car cutting compound just to smooth it out a little bit, and I actually think it's turned out pretty cool. It's a bit darker than the body, but to be honest, it's going to be a grungy looking guitar, so you know, it's good enough for me. So for the electrics, I've got a full wiring loom of a vintage modified Mustang, so we're going to use basically all of that apart from the bridge pickup, which I'm going to take out because I bought a Seymour Duncan SHR1 Hot rail pickup. This is pretty much the pickup that was in Cobain's Mustang. Early Bailey has documented that he fitted one of these early in 1992 to Cobain's Mustang, so we should get some pretty grungy tones. In terms of the pots that are in the control panel, I ain't going to change anything on this. Going to keep it cheap. Another reason, these are 250k pots, and Ernie Bailey just again documented that he never used to change the pots on Cobain's Mustangs because he thought he'll probably just end up wrecking them, so they always went with a 250k. So that should pretty much cover the electrics. In terms of the screws, strap buttons, string trees, I've got all that stuff. I've got these Wilkinson standard tuners that'll fit straight on. These are for a Telecaster I had recently and they are pretty decent tuners. So I think we've got everything we need to move forward with. I've also got a neck plate, 4 screws. So anyway, enough of the spiel, let's crack on with it. So 24 inches from the nut, I measure from just inside the front of the nut. I generally go halfway towards the front of the bridge there, just to make sure you can intonate it correctly. But to be honest, that's pretty much 24 inches, just towards the front of the saddle, so that should be good enough to get us intonated. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So all the holes are lining up around the pick guard. It's lining up nicely around the bridge there, and we'll also just put the control panel in. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty level as is, so we're going to roll with that. What I'll do is I'll mark some holes bang in the middle of the holes in the bridge there. These are about 10.5mm wide, so I'm going to go in with a 10mm drill bit, obviously measuring the depth. These tend to sit on top of the bridge there, so that's how much I need to drill into the body. So with a bridge, this is again been hardtailed. It's not the way I'll do it. I will swap these bolts round so that tail piece is flat to the body. Cobain's guitars, they also flipped this tail piece round, so when you change strings on these, they could do it nice and quick. So instead of putting them through, wrapping them under the tail piece, you can just go straight in from the back. It's sticking up a bit, and what I think it is where these switches go quite far down, it's not just getting over that edge there, so this little section is sticking up about just over 1/2 centimetre, so I'm going to route that out, smooth it all out. So that's smoothed that out a bit. That's now in line with the rest of the routing. It's a little bit rough and ready around these edges, but I'll go over that with Dremel, smooth it out, and then go over with some shielding paints to make it look a bit prettier in there. So I've now properly hardtailed this bridge. It is pretty much flat to the body. A couple of washers in there and some bolts. She is in there good. So that's the depth I want to cut these holes, just a bit over, so I've marked the drill bit with some masking tape. And that will be the grounding wire for the bridge. Oh yeah! Now we're applying the shielding paint. Right, so the next job I'm going to do is assemble the pick guards. It just makes it easier to solder. I'll screw in the switches and the neck pickup. I'll leave that one out, then unsolder it, and then we'll put in the Seymour Duncan hot rail. And she's starting to look the part. So to wire up this Seymour Duncan hot rail to the switch, you've got your black, which is your hot, your green and beige is your ground. The hot goes onto that second lug down, and then your ground and bare goes onto the opposite side, the second one down. Right, so let's see if we get some noise. So bridge pickup, neck and bridge, in phase and then out phase. Oh yeah, she's all working. Right, that should do for now. Let's get the neck on. So before we get the neck on, I need to put the tuners and string trees on. Oh yeah. Right, so before we install the neck, because we've got a Tuneomatic bridge, that will make the action a lot higher. So the way to get around that is shim the neck. What I found over the years of installing Tuneomatic bridges on sort of Fender style guitars is if you have a little piece of a credit card, a little offcut that sticks in the back of the neck pocket there, that generally gives you the right action for a Tuneomatic bridge. So we've got it all buttoned back down now. The only screw I couldn't get in was that middle one there, because obviously it's got the big swim pull route. But yeah, neck's on, pick guard's on, effing lines up pretty darn good, I must admit. It's nice all the way around. I never had to drill any extra screw holes for the pick guard or the control plate, it all went straight in. Now, one thing I wanted to mention was the orientation of the Tuneomatic bridge. I was looking at some sort of detailed pictures of Cobain's Mustangs, and the screws face that way. They're on this side. Some people like them that way. There's always a big argument on the internet about which way they should face, but whatever. But yeah, I guess Ernie Bailey for changing strings, intonation, it's just easier access that way. Yeah, just thought I'd mention that. So I'm just about to put some strings on. I'm using Fender 10 gauge strings, 10 to 46. That's my preference on Mustang guitars, 24-inch scale, but you know, each to their own. Yeah, definitely much easier.